Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna of California.
Congressman, thank you for joining us. I do think it's important to note, because Democrats were caught flat-footed at the beginning, I would argue, of this administration, that Democrats on the Oversight Committee and the Judiciary Committee, specifically in the House, have really found their footing. And you all seem to be executing strategies. And particularly today, I don't think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed from my perspective that this was not designed to just get news headlines or so that we could be sitting here speaking with you today, but it was a tool that the minority has to fight back and to get some accountability and some clarity to answer questions folks have. Talk about the subpoena. It has now failed. Where do we go from here?
First of all, Robert Garcia is doing an extraordinary job. He's injected new energy, and he and I huddled in the morning, and we have a group chat on Oversight, and we said we planned the timing of when I would introduce the motion in terms of the coordination. And by the way, we got Comer's commitment that he is going to bring in a car. But look, for a party that has spent the last decade lecturing us about cancel culture, they sure are canceling a lot of people, far more people than we ever canceled. They're canceling universities, canceling Jimmy Kimmel, canceling young people with bad social media posts. I mean, I think the country is realizing who the real cancel culture party is. And they're realizing who the big government party is that is going after private business. There is no Democrat in my lifetime who has done more in terms of intimidating, going after private business than Donald Trump.
So, Congressman, to the point about the cancel culture on the right, which is preeminent right now, I would like to share with you, I guess, a somewhat, how should we put it, Simone, ironic tweet from the FCC Commissioner Chair Brendan Carr from 2023. Let's take a look at this. He says, "Free speech is the counterweight. It is the check on government control. That is why censorship is the authoritarian's dream." I mean, really, it's only been, what, 18 months, 2 years?
It has been since then, and it's only been 242 days since Donald Trump.
And 242 days in, those words not only ring hollow, they are an affront to the American people, because that is not what this commissioner is looking to do. He's backing a rogue presidency, which is, to your point, trying to cancel the voice of the American people. Now, people may sit there and go, well, you know, it's a television show, but that's an expression of who we are as a community, as a country. We watch these programs. And so how far does this go? What do you think is next? Simone laid up in the first block. Project 2025 gave the chapter and verse and the specific pages that we want everybody to go to. What is it again?
856 and page 857.
There you go.
She did her homework.
She did her homework. So, but where do you think this goes next?
Well, first of all, the absurdity of this. They are canceling comedy. They're making comedy illegal. I mean, it's one thing.
Right.
It's one thing in this country to go after politicians. It's another thing to even go after hosts like you or Meet the Press or This Week. They're going after comedians. Satire.
Yeah.
We love comedy. We love comedians. This is going to backfire in a way that they don't understand. And it would be comic if it weren't as dangerous. You have the President of the United States threatening the host of This Week, Jonathan Karl, saying that, you know, maybe I should cancel you. You have J.D. Vance telling people to snitch on their fellow citizens and get them fired. You have them talking about prosecuting political organizations which they disagree with. I mean, the last time we had this kind of fear were the Palmer raids in the Red Scare or the McCarthy era. And we should not be naive about what this administration wants to do. They want to use the force of government to squelch any speech that they see as a threat to their view of culture. And this is an opportunity for us to mobilize the entire American people and say, we are for the most fundamental right, every person's equality to speak out. That's the most American thing, and that's what they're taking away.
Can I just make a point? And I know we want to also get to the Epstein files, but I do think, and I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, it's not just, in my opinion, the free speech of it all. It is systemic. Like the president is not just saying these things, whether we're talking about in terms of like demonizing immigrants, for example. The Department of Homeland Security security has been mobilized and weaponized to carry out that authority. He's not just talking about maybe going after some of the people who were on the opposite side of him or that maybe used to work for him. The Department of Justice is doing that. He's just not suggesting that he will go after people's licenses. The FCC is systemically using language that is in occurrence with their system of like how they conduct business to do just that, to suggest it. Like they're not saying you do this and da-da-da. They're strongly suggesting, and because the companies need something from the FCC, they are capitulating. So like I would argue, Alicia, that this is systemic. It's not just these people spouting out whatever they want to spout out.
And that's why I want to know from the congressman, you wanted to subpoena Carr. What are the questions you have for Carr that you think would actually illuminate Simone's point?
Well, I want to know what he specifically threatened Nexstar with. What Nexstar, of course, wants a merger from him. And his threats to take down Jimmy Kimmel is partly what made ABC take Jimmy Kimmel off. And all of that needs to come through in the documentation. But to Simone's point, there's something more fundamental. We're not just dealing with Donald Trump, right? We're dealing with thousands of functionaries who are carrying out Trump's orders. And this is why it matters for us to take back Congress. Because if we can subpoena and investigate those functionaries, we can at least stop them from saying, you know what, if I carry out an illegal order, I'm going to be hauled in front of Congress, and I'm going to be embarrassed, and I'm going to have to explain this to the American people. And while Donald Trump may escape, I'm not going to escape prosecution. And so for Donald Trump to carry out his lawlessness, he relies on thousands of people like Brendan Carr, who are total bureaucrat, and just following orders. We need a check on that. And this is where, when people say they want Congress to fight, this is why. They get that it's tough with Trump, but they want us to make sure that the bureaucrats stop doing what they're doing, and we can hold them accountable.
So to that point, Congressman, this is where I struggle with the idea of futility versus opportunity. Because in the House, for example, the rules are written against the minority. You don't have the same level of power or levers of power to be able to do certain things. And to that point,
tell me about it.
right, you know. But to that point, I have to admit, Democrats in the House have done reasonably well, given that not only do they have one hand tied behind their back, but they've got one patch over the eye and, you know, a couple of toes that are in chains, right? So you're kind of hamstrung, but you've been able to make it work. So that feeds the sense of futility, but also at the same time, this sense of opportunity, which is what you're taking steps to do now and creating opportunities to further expose and explain this. How do you sense this balance between futility, just running up against the brick wall and going, there's nothing more we can do, which we've heard sometimes at this table, as well as, okay, here's a new lane that we can take, a new approach we can take to push back on MAGA and put them on their heels?
We have evolved and gotten much better than when we started. When we started, we had a very conventional view. We're in the minority in the House. We're in the minority in the Senate. We don't have the presidency. We just lost 7 swing states. There was almost a despondency, and people sensed that, and that's why our base was upset. And then we have had, since then, new approach, which we've said we have got to think outside the box. We have got to be aggressive within the law. Unlike Donald Trump, he's aggressive outside the law. We've got to be energetic and creative. That's why we had this coordinated approach on a subpoena, so much so that Comer says, OK, I don't want to be embarrassed. I'm going to call Carr in. That's why we've had this discharge petition with the Epstein files, where we've gotten 4 Republicans, 218 signature on September 29th, and we're going to force a vote. So, you know, the one thing Democrats need to do is have confidence. We're so much about democracy is falling, democracy is going to be doomed. People respect confidence. Look at Dr. King the day before the assassination. I may not get there, but you're going to get to the promised land. We need to say we are going to save democracy. We're going to stand up for freedoms. We are actually in touch with the American people. Come join us. We're going to succeed. Not that we're doomed and we can't do anything. That's not leadership.